Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. It's a comedy podcast that's about the news. It's not meant to be direct reportage about Ben Roberts-Smith's bail hearing specifics, you online fucking psychos.
So,
George was saying how tired he was before we started this. I think we've lit the fire under
Fuck me dead. All of these online keyboard warriors going, I can't believe all these fucking keyboard warriors online with all their opinions, they say, with their scythes beside them as they trample their keyboards online themselves.
I mean, it's almost like we're online opinion warriors doing exactly the same thing, except we've got cameras in front of us.
Podcasting gear must be so cheap. These three idiots can't get the facts right. I was like, you understand that podcasts happen in the past. So when we said those things, they were true at the time that we said them based on older information. Oh, no, he didn't refuse bail. He didn't seek it. It's like, right, he refused it. What did I say? And refused bail. Cunts. I was reading directly from the fucking article, cunt.
So, for everyone's reference, what's happening here? Let's take a step back. We've recently changed some software and we're posting more. George is doing a lot of work behind the scenes to post clips of the show. And you've probably, if you're listening to this, maybe you've seen them. And thank you for watching. As a result of that, though, we are getting more views and therefore more attention and therefore more comment.
More hate. More dumb fucking internet comments calling us bad names on the internet.
And this is why I like the woods as a concept. Generally and specifically. Rather than looking at things online, he said doing a podcast that is in fact hosted and shared online. It is sometimes comedy. We talk about the news and we have a selection of stuff today that's going to go into your ear holes and will probably be factually incorrect at various points.
Comedy podcast about the news.
Please.
We're not fucking CNN. Okay.
If you want to double check,
it's not a 24-hour news network. Just because you see some guys with microphones on the internet doesn't mean it's a fucking news show.
If you want to check this material that we're referencing, we do post our show notes up online on our website. Have a look at them. Have a look at the source articles we're quoting from. Sometimes we do misread them. Sometimes the articles themselves might be wrong. Have a look at those and then judge it for yourself.
And if you have any complaints, please address your complaints to attention George Sipos at 123 P.O. Box 4 at 123 Fake Street in Silverwater, Brisbane.
You piece of shit. I didn't know where Silverwater is. I don't live in Sydney. Forgive me, I misspoke.
Well,
Silverwater's in Sydney, I think. Actually,
it's very funny. I've been to Silverwater in Sydney. I should have probably picked up on that on the day, but there's
the water,
also,
in fact, silver.
I didn't see any water. It was a computer shop that I went into. You probably couldn't get any further from water than a computer shop in Silverwater.
Who do these idiots think they're? They're just three idiots commenting online. I know, that's the tagline of the show. What do you mean?
George, I don't know what you expected, George. This is what what's the word? Traction, engagement.
Great
engagement. Return to the woods. Abort mission.
I think George is deeply regretting the new social media strategy.
I so preferred when nobody listened to the show. I so prefer it in so many ways.
Quietly under the radar is the best way to be. So if you don't know where Brisbane is, you're going to struggle with this next article because we're going to Hungary.
Now Hungary's a country in Europe for you fucking morons.
Are you sure about that, George?
I am. I checked my sources on that
one. You're pretty sure it's not in Western Sydney?
I'm pretty sure it's not.
So for those people living under a rock, Hungary has been, the leader has been a far right-wing figure, Viktor Orban.
Hi, Hungary, I'm thirsty.
For the last 16 years.
It's a comedy show.
It's a comedy show. Last 16 years, Viktor Orban has been in power. Now, he was at one point wildly popular and was seen as kind of a model for a lot of other far-right figures. Some might, as example, Donald Trump and other people, Bolsonaro and stuff in the various areas around the world, and the move, even in like Marine Le Pen's sort of movement in France, like these kind of
Georgia Meloni in Italy.
But even Meloni's kind of like, you're crazy, man. Like,
get a load of this guy.
Hey, I'm a fan. I love Benito Mussolini. I think this guy's a fucking crazy. I can do that, by the way. Internet commenters, I'm Italian, okay? So stay out of the fucking comments. I can do any fucking accent I like. Thank you very much.
Is that how that works?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Yes,
what about
white man.
Indian?
Yes,
Can you do
oppressor.
Can you do an Indian accent? Probably not.
I cannot. No, I'm not going to try that.
It's just very too specific accent.
That's very 2010 Unnatural Selection. Okay, 2016 Unnatural Selection does not try Indian accents.
2026. We're
in 2026, George. I know you said 2016. I know you're trying to remember the blissful yesteryear of a decade ago when we were just talking about how crazy it would be if Donald Trump became the president of the United States and started World War III. Not while we are neck deep in...
Is it possible that we're the branched simulation from 2016, we're the branched timeline of like when everything went wrong? And
maybe.
I'm just like actually maybe still sitting on my couch in Hawthorne, just looking at the screen, not with a sinking pit in my feeling, thinking, oh, fuck, she's going to lose, but maybe, oh, fuck, she's going to win. And that all of this, the last 10 years has been a horrible dream. Maybe none of it was real.
Return the Infinity Stones to Tilda Swinton. Otherwise, it all goes to shit.
Hawthorne, that's in Brisbane, yeah?
Yeah. Hawthorne's Western Sydney, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, he, and because of this, because of Viktor Orban's politicization and his sort of movement, he has been at odds.
Wanton corruption and just general shitbaggery. Yeah.
Because of this, the relationship with the European Union, which Hungary is a part of, has been disintegrating. Now, the EU has held, like billions of dollars worth of funding to Hungary.
$150 billion worth of EU funding that would otherwise have gone to Hungary that hasn't because they're withholding it because they're saying, hey, you've got a corrupt illiberal democracy. We're not going to give you these funds that you would otherwise be entitled to, like fix your act up, sort your shit out, sort of thing.
So the kind of things he's been doing are like stacking the courts with, people that are allied to him, kind of like what's been happening in the United States.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that 150 billion number is not correct. That's the loan that might open up to Ukraine now that Orban's out of the way.
Yeah,
sorry,
correct.
I'll find the number.
That's another aspect to it. But there are billions with a B. So that's one thing. The other thing was...
I'm getting ahead of the internet comments.
Good. I see what you're doing. Yeah. He's checking himself before he wrecks himself. The other thing was he basically took control of media and sort of basically all the media in Hungary is very pro-government.
State media
now as a result. Yeah,
it's definitely the blueprint for what Orban has done over the last 16 years in power, has very much provided the blueprint for illiberal democracies, all over Europe and the United States. Like a lot of the Trump playbook comes from Orban cracking down on law firms and the media and, civil society in these ways, sort of, chilling speech and sort of undermining his political opponents using the office that he holds and passing money through to his son-in-law who owns the only fucking contract for street light bulbs and all the sort of corrupt shit. Right?
And the thing that George was talking about was that with regards to Ukraine, so the European Union basically unanimously was like, we want to give an aid package, a very substantial aid package to Ukraine, but they are blocked from doing so.
150 billion,
because Hungary blocked it. Because Hungary has ties to Russia.
Yes.
They are seen as a sort of pseudo-Russian ally
client
to some
state
extent.
Almost, yeah.
I wouldn't say client state, but I would say that the regimes were,
Orban's a puppet of Putin. It's commonly
I wouldn't say puppet. I would say that he's been strongly influenced by, right? And there are...
What I'm saying is he's got at least a couple of digits up. He may not be fully operating him as a puppet with the whole hand, but he's got a couple of digits up there.
A little tickle around
the tip.
So this has been happening for a number of years. What we were speaking about last week was preceding the election, which happened
this past
Monday.
Sunday. I think
Sunday.
Well, maybe Monday our time, but last weekend.
time difference. Was JD Vance was sent on a mission by Trump to like go to Hungary to speak to
prop up your boy. Like, you gotta rally the fellas.
Basically, rally, did this weird, JD Vance did this like kind of weird psychotic rally with Orban supporters, and it wasn't, apparently they were billing it to, there's going to be heaps of supporters, and anyway, there wasn't that many in the end, but anyway, whatever. The point being is JD Vance was there, called Trump during the rally. He didn't pick up, then he picked up a second time or something, or called back. I can't remember the exact sequence there. But like, gets Trump on the phone. He's like, JD Vance is like, you got all these people here, and I think they love you even more than they love Orban. And I'm like, that's not what you're meant to be doing. Anyway, Trump said a few things on the phone over the microphone, and then Orban.
Do we want to see the clip of JD Vance?
Have it
getting Trump's voicemail?
Let's do it.
Amazing.
Before I started my remarks, I actually had a special guest that asked that I give him a phone call, and we'll see. Let's hope he actually answers. This is going to be very embarrassing. All right.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
Okay. Try one more time.
Didn't even ring. That's what's amazing. That's one of those. It's not like it rung out. It's either an immediate hang up or it's a bad phone number. Like, even because it didn't even say, like, I'm not naive enough to think that the president would like do his own voicemail, but it didn't have like a, "Hi, you've reached Donald Trump, please leave a message after the whatever."
I'm amazed, by the way, of all the people that just seem to call the president. By the way, like Tiger Woods, we haven't even talked about Tiger Woods. Like, just called the president allegedly the other day.
There's been some reporting on this. I think the New York Times had a piece about this. How Trump, it just seems to have a lot of free time and will just take calls from people.
What?
Like his number is kind of like out and about, and people will be like, "Hey, let's call the president." Like, it's just like, like it's Love FM, and you're putting in requests. Like, all right, we got an incredible lineup. This one's for you, Baby Jane Doe in Pittsburgh. We've got Love Hurts. It's an incredible song, Big League, incredible. This is for Baby Jane Doe out in Pittsburgh.
Anyway, they did eventually connect with him and he spoke. But anyway, not long after that happened, and not long after we recorded last week, Viktor Orban proceeded to lose the election by a large margin. So the new leader of Hungary is the centre-right CESA, I'll probably pronounce that completely wrong, TISA perhaps, party leader Peter Magyar, who actually used to be a member of Orban's party and was like, these guys are crazy, and like splitting when he did his own thing.
Well, he split in 2024, so it's not like he
wasn't recent.
It's fairly recent in the grand scheme of things.
Other way around. Yes, it is fairly recent.
In the grand scheme of a 16-year reign of
exactly.
Orban, that's pretty recent.
So he and his so he's kind of like a centre-right guy, this Peter Magyar, from what I can see. It seems like, he comes from that same kind of conservative tradition as Orban. He was in the same party as Orban, as was his wife. And obviously had a split and, has campaigned on this kind of like take down the corruption, sort of get rid of Orban kind of ticket, right? The thing that's interesting, though, is that his views are still that of a center-right European sort of like conservative politician. Like, this is not a hero of the Soviet Union by any means, right?
No.
This guy,
all he's doing is saying, let's just like have rule of law rather than...
what would be chill? Rule of law.
Yeah.
And instead of like actively fucking with the trans people, what if we just didn't think about them? Like we do most of the time. It's just like, don't, so it's kind of like, he's like, he's got this nominally kind of like progressive rhetoric of like, we're not going to like arrest the queer community. We're not like, you love who you love. It's like the government's not going to get involved, right?
We could do a whole episode on like...
We're not big fans of the European Union, but like... We're not going to get in the way. We're not going to be blockers, basically. We're not going to crack down. We're not going to be blockers to the EU sort of thing. It seems to be the vibe. But yeah, I just don't want people to get the impression that it's like,
A socialist
a
utopia.
socialist, yeah. It's
No,
not
no,
Zoran
yeah.
Mamdani,
No,
right?
he's
That's
just
just
like-
swept the Hungarian elections, right?
They're going from like a populist pseudo
A far
dictator
right to centre right,
Centre-right.
sensible conservative. Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I think it just means that JD is continuing his streak. Because, they sent JD over to meet the Pope. They killed the Pope. They sent JD over to big up Viktor Orban. He loses the election. And I thought they sent JD Vance to be, the negotiator with Iran. And that's going great as far as I understand.
You know what it reminded me of? There's that scene in The Godfather where Sonny is talking to Clemenza, and he goes, when you put that gun behind the toilet seat, I want to make sure that it gets behind the toilet seat. I don't want my brother coming out with just his dick in his hands. Okay. I want him to come out with a gun. And like JD Vance is like the CEO of coming out with just his dick in his hands.
Yeah.
He is such a fucking loser. He sucks at everything. What's the opposite of a Midas touch, where everything that you touch turns to shit? 'Cause
turns
that's
to
what
shit.
JD has.
There was also the fact that he's been big on the Turning Point circuit, and like some of the turnouts to Turning Point have not been great lately. And we'll talk about some of he actually had we've got a recording from one of them that we'll talk about later in the show. But is it him, or is it like he's being sent on these crusades by Trump and he's being set up to fail? Is my question. If you saw JD Vance unrestrained doing what he thinks politically is best, would it be a different story?
No, because he has no moral center. He doesn't believe anything. His belief is proximity to power, and I will believe and say and do whatever it takes to get to that. But fundamentally, JD Vance is an inherently uncharismatic. He is a black hole of charisma, right? Like, the whole idea that the Trump coalition is going to follow him into 2028 is just ludicrous, because the man is anti-charisma. If him and like Brad Pitt touched, the universe would collapse in on itself, because they're two opposite forces making contact with one another. It's matter and antimatter.
I think he's got more riz than half the Republican candidates to be running.
No, he's dumb as fuck, dude. What are you talking about?
But he comes across as someone who's not dumb as fuck.
He's the most educated fucking idiot you'll ever meet.
I do agree though that his lust, like you watch some of the stuff that he said about Donald Trump prior to being offered the vice presidency, the running mate.
The whole Nazi. Oh no,
Well,
Hitler
America's
comment.
Hitler.
America's Hitler. That was it.
It's like you just go, well, you just are doing this for.
He's empty. He is an empty person. Just black eyes. This is the kind of guy who like strangles cats to watch the light leave their eyes. Like is like utter total sociopath.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing going on there. The guy threw his own wife and kids under the bus, saying like, all this stuff about anti-immigration and all this sort of saying he was going to convince his wife to become a Catholic and all this sort of stuff. Like, bro, they're your own wife and kids. What are you talking about? What? Well, there's no belief that he will not abandon, as we'll discuss later in the show, when new Catholic JD Vance tries to school the Pope on theology. Like, he'll say and do whatever the fuck it takes.
I just found in just going back to Hungary for a second that the relationship between Hungary and America I found particularly interesting, because as well as like all the coverage following the election and the embarrassing JD Vance phone call presentation and things like that, John Oliver had a very interesting piece in the lead up to the election just about the Hungary election and just what it could mean for Europe and all that sort of stuff, and just how that. Yeah, that blueprint that you were talking about before, George, of like the Republic, it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing of like, the Republican Party is sort of seeing this and being like, ooh, this could be very much like what we're doing, but they are also in turn influencing Hungary in that context as well. Like, don't they have a what's it called? Like the fucking crazy conservative cunt convention, CPAC. They have like a CPAC Hungary that they host there, as well as the one that happens in America, but there's one in Hungary as well, and often rando Republicans, like it's not just like, oh, the vice president doing a world tour talking over there, but like some congressman will just go to the CPAC Hungary to be like, what you guys are doing against trans people rules.
And not just people, there's money changing hands as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So something that the right does very well through CPAC and other conservative organizations is that they're really good at marshalling interconnected networks of capital and influence across borders. And something that the global left just doesn't do. You never see like Keir Starmer going, nice one, Albo. I'm going to like come speak at Albo's, re-election campaign or something. Like they just don't in the same way. And the hyper-conservatives do this, as you say, Tom. Like Viktor Orban would like come and speak at CPAC America and like make speeches there. So there's very much this like concerted effort to connect the right wing, the populist far right wing internationally, which provides support and legitimacy. But yeah, as you said, Adam, also money, flows along these borders to strengthen the global movement. They have a much more robust idea of what it means to be part of a larger political movement than the political left ever has. For whatever reason, we just can't seem to fucking get ourselves. How like the political left to be completely fucking unorganized
Can't
in this
all agree
respect.
on anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But look at. Oh, sorry, Tom, you go.
I was just going to say, a rare piece of good news. Like,
yes,
Viktor Orban lost the election. Like, I mean, not the socialist utopia that you'd hope maybe in a situation like that. But hey, ending the 16-year reign of Viktor Orban, I'll take a win when I can get it.
Yeah,
it was
look
interesting.
At the Hungarians, and they are in full Eurodance mode with the result. Like their health minister was like cutting up moves on the dance floor, like he just, like he just won $1 million. Like they are thrilled to see the backside of people.
And look, even people that previously voted for Orban are like, oh, this has gone a bit far now. Like we need to square the ledger. So it's proof that democracy can work. Well, I mean, he's just been elected. We don't know what he's going to do just yet, but it's proof that democracy can work to a certain extent. The European leaders are very happy about this, and Zelensky. Zelensky was very muted, but I assure you, it would have to be. Zelensky would be thrilled.
Yeah,
about
I mean,
this.
for a president who's just over 4 years into a war, it's probably the most elated that he can look about this news. Yeah. You're not going to be cutting shapes on the dance floor as Zelensky. But he must be pleased.
But yeah, everyone from, Friedrich Merz to, everyone,
just Friedrich
Go on.
Merz.
Friedrich Merz and
everyone, just the one guy.
Von der Leyen, Ursula von der Leyen, and Macron,
you're right.
all of these, European leaders are just like thrilled as fuck that this is happening. I mean, it is in the context of, though, a bunch of other European leaders swinging far right, as we've seen. This is not, whilst it is a great day for Hungary that Viktor Orban is out because he was a corrupt, venal shithead who tried to degrade Hungary's democracy over the course of a decade and a half. There is still, I would say, it's promising. It's a promising green shoot. I don't think it's necessarily evidence of a trend yet, because as we said, you've got the far right movement in Marine Le Pen's party in France. You've got, Nigel Farage over in the UK with Reform.
Yeah.
You've got, Giorgia Meloni over in Italy is in power. Either these movements are on the rise or they're in power in a lot of European countries. So this whole idea of
Meloni,
European
though.
cooperative,
Meloni's an interesting example because she has been. Well, she's an Italian patriot. I mean, it's probably the way to put it. She's been very resistive of a lot of Trump's latest comments, and she has.
If you live in Italy and you're the prime minister, and someone attacks the Pope, who is very, very much at the heart of what happens in Italy, you only have one move. You know what I mean? There's only so much that you as Giorgia Meloni can do in that situation, right?
But she's done a couple other things. She's at least said a couple other things that I've been like, well, there's a human in there. Does that make sense?
Such a high bar we have for European leadership at the moment. Look, I think if you can squint, you can actually see the whites of his eyes. I don't think he's an automaton. I think he's a real human being.
I mean, no, I get what you mean, Adam. Like, sometimes even for, like, the many faults of Donald Trump, when I heard that story that he had, like, the big red button on his desk and, like, people would visit and he'd go, should I push it? Should I push it? And he pushes the big red button and someone just brings him a Diet Coke from the next room.
Yeah.
Very funny. Like, that was a humanizing moment for the monster.
Indeed.
Just wait.
People are complicated. Now, just quick shout out to Team Keo and Twin Rotors who are in the chat. We see your comments. And look, I'll read it out. I haven't fact checked this at all, but Twin Rotors has said, you will find that is Viktor Orban, funneled funds, and that's why so many CPACs were held in a poor country of 8 million people.
Oh, I'm sure, like, Viktor Orban's, I don't know about that CPAC story, but the Viktor Orban's corruption is extremely well documented. Like I mentioned the stuff about the light bulbs before. That was not a throwaway comment. That was a whole... Rachel Maddow did like a tight 20 on it about how, you know, we're going to get streetlights out into all these different places in Hungary. Great. If you want to participate in this program, you need to use this consulting firm. And this consulting firm is owned by who? My son-in-law. And they're going to use light bulbs made by who? My son-in-law. And that's going to be how
same son-in-law?
The same one. The
Wow.
consulting firm says, my light bulb factory is the only fucking light bulbs that are going to be okay for all of rural Hungary.
Just honestly, those are two very different industries. I wouldn't trust the same guy to be running a consulting firm and a light bulb factory. I would imagine those are two very specific
diversified investment portfolio.
To be fair, Tom, they were newly constituted consulting firms and light bulb factories that hadn't been in existence prior. So this son-in-law has gone from being like, you know, like doing well to being worth like, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, like essentially a billionaire at this point, all off the back of the corruption that's occurred through the Orban regime, right? So it's extremely well documented at this point. But the point is that, what is the point? He's corrupt and it's fucked and he's gone.
And everyone knows it. Yeah.
Now, to the extent to which the EU is going to release some of those funds into Hungary, I think we're going to have to wait and see how soon that's going to happen. I think, you know, according to some commentators I've seen, they said, you know, they sort of rushed in with Poland and they're like, well, we don't want to just like start throwing money and then like turns out they're not going to start loosening things up and liberalizing and then they just take the money and run sort of thing. So although Magyar has spoken a lot in his acceptance speech and in his campaign,
he's got to have time to do it,
He's going to actually have time to implement a lot of these reforms before the European community, I think, is going to trust him with the bag. So we'll have to wait and see, because Hungary is a country that's in quite a lot of serious economic trouble. Their transport system is shit. Their health system is shit. Their finance situation is very average. They've got a bunch of, you know, like single-digit point growth for the last several years, like a stagnating economy, essentially, because of this wild West corruption that the Orban regime was participating in. The thing is that Orban is still in the
member of
country's,
parliament.
in the parliament. He's now the opposition, right? And the way it was explained on this Al Jazeera breakdown, which I'll post in the show notes if you're interested in watching it, is that he's feathered his bed either way. Basically, the way the professor characterized it, she said, Orban plans to win and lose every election that he participates in. I was like, well, that's not a great way to win an election. But essentially what she meant by that was they undertook a vast privatization of all of the defense industry in Hungary over the last couple of years, feathering his bed just on the off chance that he loses, because all the people who he sold the defense industry apparatus to in Hungary are all Orban's mates. And there's scheduled to be 12 to 15 billion euros worth of funding passing through all of these various, defense, subcontractors and things like that. And guess who's going to get a little snifter of that? Viktor Orban. So he's going to be fine. Like
Australian politicians just ending up at like BCG and God knows all those other sort of
isn't it
firms.
crazy? Isn't it crazy that Scotty Morrison landed at Submarine Central? Isn't that so fucking crazy?
We do need to move on though. And we're going to move on to the soap opera that is the Strait of Hormuz.
Grand opening, grand closing.
Yeah. I was going to say, speaking of other like great wins for the world, the Strait of Hormuz is open and it's not. There we go. That was a fun 2 days.
To recap, about a week ago, Trump said that the US was going to blockade the Strait of Hormuz after JD Vance's failed peace talks. I went there for a whole day and we didn't solve the war. I guess we got to leave. So Trump says, okay, well, if you're blocking the strait, we're going to block the strait extra. And then
let's just check that. He's going to block Iranian ports.
Well, that's not what Trump said. Trump said, we're going to do a complete lockdown of the strait and then sent.
But it's already locked down.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Trump. Hi, sorry. What he meant was we're going to only block stuff coming out of Iranian ports. Okay, we're not going to block everyone else's. But if the Iranians are blocking everyone else and the Americans are blocking everything that comes out of Iran, that is now a strait that is super duper closed when it was only partially closed before. So it is now more closed than it was previously. Anyway, Trump and Iran, come back to the table. There's been discussions. Apparently the Lebanon was now formally, explicitly included in the ceasefire. And on the 18th, so as of time of recording yesterday, Saturday, Iran declared that the Strait of Hormuz was open as a result of that Lebanon ceasefire beginning. Great. So markets dropped, oil goes down. Someone places a $780 million bet on the markets. Coincidence? And then, as of this morning, 12:04 p.m. I feel like we need to do this by the timestamp because as we talk about this every time it fucking changes.
Yeah.
So as of 12:04 p.m. today, Iran has now said it has closed the Strait of Hormuz again, citing the US blockade as a reason. So basically, Trump's like, well, thanks for opening the strait, Iran. Cheers. We're going to still keep it blockaded, though. And Iran's like, whoa. Wasn't that the whole idea? Is that we unblock our side, you unblock your side, global commerce can continue?
Just a mistranslation.
And so Trump has absolutely just fumbled the ball again, and Iran has now grand opening, grand closing.
Allegedly, this is the thing, is allegedly there were reports coming in of Iranian attack boats attacking various ships that were trying to, because they said the strait's open, Iranian boats are apparently attacking various ships.
Yes.
And then
two Indian ships have recorded damage as a result of gunboats over the last day or two.
So
but they said the Indian ships are communicating to the Iranian military, being like, "Bro, you said we could pass."
Yeah.
So as to whether it was closed as a result of Trump or these are just factional cells that are operating completely independently of central decision making in Iran, who knows?
This is one of the things is that, as an example, when the US invaded Iraq, Saddam Hussein had a very central, everything had to get run through him. It was a very centralized command structure.
Yeah.
And then when they took down comms, no one knew what to do. That's why the US was able, part of the reason, not the whole reason, part of the reason why the US was able to advance very quickly through Iraq. In Iran, they've decentralized command.
And this is a purposeful strategy,
Correct.
Is what you're saying. Yeah.
Correct, yeah. So if you take down the internet, if you take down comms, these units are aware of their orders and they know what they're... But it just means that sometimes if there's a negotiation happening in one area of the country, it might take a while, potentially. Not always. And who knows there might be other things happening. There could be rogue dudes, who knows. But all I'm saying is sometimes it takes a while for the message to get out to the front line.
Yeah, the news doesn't travel quickly.
Yeah. The people manning these boats and these these facilities
didn't refresh Twitter.
They're not. They never get to Twitter. There's no internet.
What you want to do is you want to swipe down and you'll see the little circle and it'll refresh.
So these things are moving very quickly, but it takes a while for things to catch up. So anyway, and then in Lebanon they've got this 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. And
but Israel's caveated saying, unless we want to. But
yeah, I was going to say Israel's
like, hey, we're going to ceasefire unless we see some fucking Hezbollah, in which case whoa, we got to get it.
Israel and ceasefires do not have fantastic track records. I remind you that we're allegedly 6 months into a ceasefire in Gaza.
Phase 1 of the ceasefire in Gaza. Yeah,
there's still a lot of explosions going on.
Yeah. The Israeli ceasefire, you cease, we fire. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're kind of back to where we were 2 days ago, where the strait's still closed.
Oh, Wait, actually, no, Adam. I know we were talking about the timestamps before. I've just got the ABC open. Breaking news: the Strait of Hormuz is open again.
No,
which is great.
Are you shitting me?
Wait, no, hang on. Sorry, it's the Strait of Hormuz in Silverwater, Western Sydney. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You motherfucker. You motherfucker.
I was like, is this guy legit? What's going on? Breaking news. You got me. You got me.
Thank you very much.
That's going in a clip. Look at it.
Okay.
He's so upset. Look at
I'm
him.
so mad. I'm so mad at you right now.
Look at his face. Oh, my God.
I don't know Sydney. I can't live there.
He's so angry. The pod. Anyway, so
yeah.
shit's still fucked. That's the
Shit is indeed still fucked.
that's the global wrap. We're going to come back to global stuff in a second, but first we're going to segue to Australia. In which case,
Australia.
one of Australia's 2 oil refineries decided to catch on fire,
Oh,
spontaneously combust.
Is
Wow,
that
the other
to
day.
happen? Is this
No.
the process, as far as I'm aware,
No.
as refining crude oil
No.
involves a big fire and explosion?
It's bad.
and-
No, it's not meant to happen like this.
It's not meant to happen. Okay,
No.
shit.
You don't burn the oil that you're trying to refine, as it
Okay.
turns out.
As a rule, yeah.
Right,
Um,
all right. That's
Getting high on your own supply sort of situation.
That's
yeah.
probably why my oil refinery didn't get off the ground.
Yeah. Terrible idea.
It's just, what if I set it on fire?
And the neighbours would not stop complaining.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
We're laughing about this. It's really fucking serious.
It's bad.
It's
It's
really
really bad.
serious. It's really
It's
bad.
really bad.
To my
Yeah, but
understanding, no one's died. That's why
Yeah.
I'm laughing about
Thankfully.
it. Nobody's
Yeah.
died. as far
We were
as
very
I'm aware.
lucky that,
Yeah.
and look, this will be a thing that goes on for a while because there's like the stuff they need to use to put out the fire, that's pretty bad for the environment. So there's like a whole raft, like the Corio residents are affected. Like there's a whole
Yeah.
Yeah,
bunch
I
of
would not want to be.
after-flowing effects that
I would not want to be living nearby. They're just
No.
like.
Just breathe that in.
We,
Just
we
breathe it
don't,
in.
yeah, we don't expect there to be any negative health effects on the surrounding community as you're looking to the Hellmouth opening like 3 blocks down from you. Just
Yeah.
it's like, it's fine. Don't worry. Just go
Don't
inside,
worry,
shut
babe.
your doors. It'll be fine. You're definitely not going to have health consequences for decades as a result of this. Just pop back into your house.
Yeah. You still you still need to hop on that 9:30 stand-up meeting because
We
you got
need
to go to work
V5
still.
for the PowerPoint. So if you can actually get right on that, apparently the dog food ad is not sexy enough. So we need V6 actually. If you could just take those edits into
So
account and turn that around by end of day, that'd be great.
the refinery that we're talking about is Viva Energy oil refinery in Geelong, in the suburb of Corio. It supplies about 10% of Australia's fuel. In Victoria, it's about 50% of our fuel, and in Tasmania, it's even larger. It might be like all of it or a large portion of it.
Yeah, so substantial amounts of the country's fuel, and with especially Victoria's fuel, as you say, 50% of our local consumption is allegedly goes through there. So, I think Twin Rotors in the chat is saying I think they cranked it up. She'll be right, mate. Next minute, obviously this happens. I think that has to be related, right? Like the fact that we're talking about
It's with the timing's weird, man. The
we're at
timing is
stage
so
2
weird.
of stage 4, fuel plan with
Yeah.
the government and how they're handling fuel restrictions. Clearly, some sort of directive has gone down from the top being like, we need to refine as much fuel as possible because we might be on the hook for supplying a good chunk of Australia in the event of a oil shortage. And so clearly they're cranking up production. Something's gone horribly wrong. To my mind, that seems like the only reasonable explanation given the time.
I don't know. I mean,
Wow.
it could just be a crazy coincidence. But
I thought they officially cited equipment failure.
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just the
And it's an old
currently.
facility. It's been there for decades, right? So I would not be surprised if that was, they're just going hell for leather on pushing stuff out the door and something's broken down and caused a fire, right?
Yeah, it was amazingly captured, I think, by the Chris Bowen, the energy minister, I want to say. I forget.
Yeah, he is the energy minister.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's his portfolio. Chris Bowen's just saying, the timing is unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
He said in a press conference, I'm like, yep, that is a man trying to keep as much composure as possible while he's internally screaming at like,
don't
oh
panic,
boy.
Don't panic,
Don't
don't
panic,
panic,
don't
don't
panic.
panic, don't panic.
Facility is still.
It's unfortunate timing. And then you just see him walk out, close the door, and you just hear off screen.
Chris Bowen is. I mean, that interview he did with Liam from 7 Spotlight will probably come back to haunt him to some extent. But I mean, well, actually, it won't haunt him. But like, just the.
What's this? What are you talking about?
There was this whole thing this week around. So 7 Spotlight have been doing a big deep dive on how the raw materials that are used in green energy infrastructure, so solar panels and batteries and that kind of thing, are all horribly mined and a very,
lithium mining is like
the human suffering of lithium mining, right?
There is a reason we don't do this stuff in Australia is because it is horrible to the environment and the people that get exposed to these things. Like there's a real workplace health and safety situation that we have here in Australia, which would not really allow for us to do things in the way that China does them with regard to lithium mining.
So before the this fire happened, there was a press conference where Chris Bowen was doing his normal. We've got 10 days worth of fuel, or 50 or whatever it is, 30 days of jet fuel and going through the stocks. And Liam sort of ambushes him. He's a former 60 Minutes reporter. Now working for 7, and sort of was like, well, actually, what was the question? It was like, why won't the government admit that that the movement towards green energy is actually like, detrimental, and you're not telling the country the truth about all of the flow-on effects. Anyway, Chris Bowen kind of dealt with it in a way that was. He sort of acknowledged the question, but was like, I reject the premise of it, and then tried to move on. And then Liam kept like badgering. I can't remember the guy's last name. Liam someone kept badgering him. Anyway, it's just kind of, and now 7 have been pushing this story. Like it's been there. So you watch the football and they're like advertising this as part of their like 7 News, highlights reel kind of thing. Right? Getting to the bottom of it. Liam's at the lithium mine.
Yeah, getting to the bottom of the fucking, you're telling him what they don't want you to know.
So it's and then that blew up, and then people were like, well, Liam's just asking questions. I keep saying Liam. I don't know the guy's last name.
Just asking questions.
Just asking questions.
If I could get everyone who ever said, I'm just asking questions, into a room and close the doors and lock them and leave them locked forever, I would.
All right, socialist dictator George Sipos.
Just asking questions.
Terrifying.
I'm just asking some fucking questions.
It's a little fashy, George.
I'm just asking some fucking questions,
George, would you make them
do your own research, bro?
Wear their own armbands, like just to label them as people who said that, just asking questions?
I just cannot stand this facile argument of just asking questions. No, you're advocating a point of view by asking particular questions and asking them over and over again. You are seeding doubt. If you are just asking questions about climate change, it's not because you really want to know. Otherwise, you'd have fucking Dr. Carl on to explain climate change to you. You're asking questions because you're advocating an anti-climate change point of view.
Yeah. Which is sort of
a reasonable response to that.
Yeah,
right?
Which is what Chris Bowen was sort of. He's like, I don't see how like the current situation is a reflection on, Australia's uptake of renewables. And then sort of moved on because he was trying to make a.
It's making a point. And Twin Rotor said it's almost like Kerry Stokes owns a mine or gas company. Oh wait.
And this has been a thing. This is my point here: is that the Conservative media, Murdoch, Kerry Stokes, others, have been trying to point out the fact that
except the Guardian, basically
that the government's failing this sort of fuel crisis. Now, to be fair. Look, I mean, Albanese, he was in power when we signed gas deals with Japan. Or when I say he was in power, he was a member of the Labor government when we signed gas deals with Japan, like back in, when Gillard was in. Like yes, but it is a failure of successive governments to not secure Australia's energy supply.
It's just whoever's holding the bag at the time of a crisis.
Correct.
You know that, right?
Yeah, correct. But that's my point, is that like it's not Albo's fault. Like he's actually doing an all right job considering the problem. Anyway,
it sounds like we've been negotiating, like throwing money hand over fist to get oil contracts secured from other places to fill the breach in the meantime, which is like all you could reasonably expect a government to do in this situation is to get oil in from the US, from Mexico, from fucking Russia, wherever. I don't know where they're getting it. I know the US and Mexico, we purchased more fuel, more oil.
We've got an
but
agreement as part of we've got access to the US Strategic Reserve. I think,
and we're going and negotiating with I think it was Singapore. Like they purchase a lot of our natural gas,
Brunei,
where a lot of the fuel and they refine
Malaysia.
a lot of the fuel there in Singapore. So it's kind of like, well, you only get access to our natural gas if you make sure you secure our petroleum that we've got contract and all the sort of stuff. Like they're doing what they can do, but it's like a global crisis that's outside of our control, right? Like to destroy the demand for 10 million barrels of oil a day is not an easy thing to do. Like it needs to come from somewhere. Someone somewhere's going to miss out, right?
There's a good the latest If You're Listening with Matt Bevan, which is a good podcast if you ever want to listen to stuff.
It's all right.
It explains at a very high level how we kind of cooked the concept between long-term supply agreements with various countries and how that is sort of like while we are like an energy superpower in terms of like LNG and that kind of thing, coal, etc. These long-term contracts don't allow for us to make a buck when the prices are high because those contracts are locked in for 10, 20 years. So even while Albanese, the point that Matt Bevan was sort of making is while Albanese is there in Brunei and Singapore and Malaysia, there's a contract in place for a lot of this stuff, and he can't necessarily void those contracts even in the time of a crisis. All they can say is you're going to keep honoring the contract. Like we'll keep giving you the gas if you keep giving us the oil or the petrol.
But that is just the realistic endpoint of the kind of interconnected global system of consumer capital that we've been pushing towards for the last 30 years. Like Anthony Albanese can't go back in time and like rejig the global network of capital. You know what I mean? Like he's been prime minister for the last, whatever it is, 4.5 years. That's what he can
I think
control,
whenever these contracts come up, they need to have a good hard look at what the negotiating terms are on them.
And we're a rich country. We'll be fine. We'll maybe have to pay, as this crisis continues, and I fully expect it to continue unless Tom sees another fucking tweet in the next 3 minutes that says it's all over. I fully expect it to continue for some time. And the problem is that there's been significant destruction of, drilling resources and infrastructure. And, but we do not expect these.
Not to mention the insurance premiums.
The insurance and shipping costs and all this sort of stuff. There's going to be whatever it is, a 45-day gap from an insurance perspective between when the conflict officially finishes versus when, like wartime insurance will kick in and all this sort of stuff. So there's going to be long and variable lags in the resumption to normal kinds of production, right, of oil.
Yeah.
The problem is that, even if all of these things go well, it may be months, years before we get back to a situation where now, oil production is normalized, right? And oil drops back below $100 a barrel. The problem is,
BYD.
As Twin Rotors in the chat points out, but where is this extra oil coming from? Poor Asian countries? Yeah, that's exactly where it's coming from. Because, you already see countries like South Korea where they're instituting work from home mandates, free public transport, people are biking everywhere, they're being rationing. These countries know that because a substantial portion of their economy is based on the refinement of these materials and these long-term contracts, which they're obliged to fulfill, then they may not have enough for their own domestic consumption at home. And the poorer the country, the more susceptible they are to price shocks and things like this. Australia is a rich country. We've got money to throw around to solve the problem. Like we'll probably have to pay more for petrol. We'll get a couple of extra points on inflation. It's going to suck, but we'll be fine. What I worry about is the guy who lives in the rural Philippines who now doesn't have fucking fuel to cook his family's dinner or heat his house.
Vietnam,
like that's the guy
those
I'm
countries
worried
are
about.
suffering. Like the Philippines has got rationing at the moment. It's bad. Now this facility, to get back to the story, Viva Energy, that facility is still producing, it's still functioning. It's not completely taken out, but its production's been reduced down to like a 2/3 of what it was, basically.
60% I saw was the
Yeah.
And it'll slowly scale back up over time. But like the fact is, you need these guys to be producing at 110% right now, not
because
60%.
they only at full capacity, they're only producing 10% of the total national usage. So not good.
And this is why everyone's telling everyone not to freak out, which is exactly the sort of language that makes people
want to freak out.
Yeah.
I'm freaking out.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't like, and there have been various efforts from the state government to ameliorate some of these pressures, like free public transport here in Victoria. That's been extended through May, and I think it's going to be half price till December or something like that. I read. So efforts are being made to help ameliorate the demand, but at a certain point, like petrol is one of those commodities that has what's termed in the industry an inelastic demand, right? Demand for, chips is elastic. If I don't have chips, I'm not going to die. It's fine. Like I don't
speak for yourself.
I love some chippies, but like the demand for oil is kind of inelastic. If you need to drive to get to your job because
it's a critical resource
is 30 minutes away and you can't get there via train, then you need to drive. So whether it's $10 a tank or $20 a tank or $100 a tank, you're going to have to just bite the bullet and pay it. There's a certain amount of consumption of this resource, which is just not elastic. It can't stretch or you have a little bit more or have a little bit less, right?
Yeah, it's not a discretionary spend. It's like
if you're a truck driver, you can't like drive less to deliver the goods you need to deliver, right? So it's it is a critical resource, and the fact that we as a society have not planned for a situation where if we aren't able to get like either we needed to go whole hog in on the renewable EVs, like electric vehicle, electric trucks, electrifying the economy, right? Saul Goodman style. We got a 10-year plan. Let's fucking electrify everything. Either we needed to be doing that or we needed to be ensuring that these critical supply chains were onshore. And successive governments over the last 20, 30 years have done neither of those things.
Neither of those things, and have actively campaigned against them.
This is probably a good segue to our next story, which is about the failing empire of Sanjeev Gupta and GFG. So Sanjeev Gupta is a foreign billionaire, basically, that has bought and owns a large proportion of, or a number of, not a large proportion, a number of critical infrastructure kind of deals. So we're talking aluminium smelters, coal mines, steel works across the country. Now, his company, you may have heard his name before because last year in South Australia, the Whyalla Steelworks was placed into administration by the South Australian government in a fairly extraordinary move, but one that was probably well overdue. They owed creditors millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, and presumably, although this is yet to be proven as far as I'm aware, this raises the question that could they have been trading whilst they were insolvent, which is not legal to do, right? If you are in a situation where you can't make payroll and you owe, tens of millions of dollars worth of debt, and you're still taking payments for stuff, for goods that you will not be able to service, that is not legal to do, right? No. You have an obligation as the director of a company to not trade while insolvent, right?
And so what we're finding out is that it's not just Whyalla Steelworks. The Talmore coal mine in New South Wales and the Liberty Bell manganese, I'll pronounce it incorrectly, smelter in Tasmania have manganese. Manganese.
Manganese.
That's how I read it, was manganese. I was like, that doesn't sound right.
I love these geese.
It obviously
I can't believe we're
with magnesium.
I'm pretty sure Mangeese is a suburb out in the west of Sydney.
It's just next to Silverwater, in fact.
So these have all started to fail or have failed. Sorry, they're in administration. Now, there is another business. On top of this, there's another business, I've got to find it in the article here, that currently owes or is losing something like $250 million, like, I don't know whether it's a year or a month or whatever it might be, but a lot of money. It's another, I think, steel business that's still functioning, that's also losing money, and now they're going, well, is this one next?
No. So when I think you're talking about the Whyalla Steelworks. So when the Whyalla Steelworks were placed into administration in February last year, the administrators, Kortementha, said the operation was losing about $1.5 million a day, was in a state of disrepair and was unsafe. So if that's times over 365, you're talking about, hundreds of millions of dollars a year in terms of losses, right?
Yeah, I'll keep going. But there is a point in this article here where they're talking about this other company that's still active. But here we go. Mr. Gupta's remaining key Australian steel business, InfraBuild, which has 4,800 employees, reported a $250 million loss last year, so for the financial year. GFG said that InfraBuild was a separate business which has remained resilient despite exceptionally challenging market conditions. Now, what GFG have said is that, well, because Whyalla went down, that meant that there were flow-on effects to these other companies, which basically means that they're sharing money around between these things.
We don't know that they're sharing money, but certainly because of the kinds of businesses that Mr. Gupta invests in, they are interrelated, right? They're not just in similar industries. They're also suppliers and customers of one another, which is presumably the methodology by which he sold this idea to the Australian government, is that I'm a wealthy investor. We've got all these other companies that are in the same business. We might get efficiencies, by being able to group these companies together. There is a real argument there from an acquisition standpoint to say, okay, we've got other companies in the same area. We could merge, we could consolidate, we could, find efficiencies, so therefore I would be a good person to buy these ailing assets and turn them around and invest in them because we've got all these sort of complementary assets that might help them thrive, right? That's a reasonable assumption to make. Now, that argument also works in the other direction though as well, because if a number of these companies are failing and that also then has flow-on effects to, suppliers and customers that are also within that portfolio. It could be a virtuous cycle, it could also be a vicious cycle in the other direction as well.
Allegedly, this all started in 2021 when one of the key lenders, Greensill Capital, which was founded by financier Lex Greensill, collapsed. So that funding source that he was relying on, allegedly, was, since 2021, things have been just going worse and worse. And to the point now, where ASIC is actually starting to now, rather than just investigating Steelworks, they're now investigating all the other entities within the group to go, well, actually, how bad is this? And
things are bad if ASIC has actually kicked into action. The relationship between Greensill Capital and GFG has come under intense UK parliamentary scrutiny, and the UK's Serious Fraud Office is investigating suspected fraud, fraudulent trading, and money laundering. The parties have, of course, denied any wrongdoing. GFG's finances are complex because the companies within the Gupta family-owned conglomerate transact with each other, including the failed Australian businesses, as I mentioned.
So I guess what I wanted to point out here is, ASIC's investigating, great, and there's they're putting up the Liberty Bell and the coal mine up for sale, and so hopefully someone will come in and buy it. But for instance, with Whyalla Steelworks, the Australian government has had to step in, and the South Australian government had to step in and had to basically bail it out effectively, because the steelworks is a piece of critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
Some of these things, whether they be oil refineries, whether they be aluminium smelt, whatever they may be, coal mines, these are things that are really fucking important for our national security. for our energy security, for our ability to build homes, to build infrastructure.
Yeah, but the government doesn't want it on its balance sheet, so it's not
Yeah,
going to nationalise
but-
it. It's just going to step in when the industry blows up every 10 years,
But
give
we are
someone a
not
subsidy and
competitive.
hope for the best,
We're
right?
not competitive to because if you're doing things correctly, if you've got OH&S, if you've got the right equipment, if you're paying people out the arse to work in a coal mine, it's not that profitable.
There's a
depending
trade-off
on
here.
yeah.
There's a trade-off because I think it's really important that we have appropriate work, health, and safety regulations, that people are, in a safe workplace where they're not in danger, where they're not going to endure.
I'm just saying, we're in a time of
just let me finish the thought. I think it's important that we have those protections for workers, right? Because we've seen what, you look at DuPont over in the US with Teflon, you look at, all these mega corporations in the States and how they treat their workers when there aren't protections there.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
But what there's a trade-off there. I think all of that stuff is good and necessary to have all those protections and regulations. However, it necessarily means that when you are competing against countries and companies in countries in the developing world that do not have anywhere near this level of regulation and protection for their workers and all that sort of stuff, it then makes it that much harder to be competitive against those companies.
Yeah, I know.
You're essentially
that's how capitalism works. Yeah,
I know, but the point is, there should be a way to do both. There should be a way to have a safe, well-regulated workplace that respects its workers and pays them fairly, and doesn't fall into involuntary administration and burn down certain critical parts of our key infrastructure along with it. There surely must be a way for us to do this in a way that's profitable and safe, right?
Yes, there's an idea that Twin Rose has put in the chat, which is and it's one that is kind of used in a couple of situations where why not take a stake as a shareholder? That's the Australian government. Taxpayer,
but that's
the
argument I made about
privately.
nationalising. Yeah, so nationalising industries. The business community do not love that because it creates what's called sovereign risk, right? Or what they term sovereign risk, which is, well, why would we invest in a country if we think that the government's just going to nationalize the industry anyway and take us off the board, right? Which I don't necessarily believe that argument, because it's like, well, if you're BP, you drill where the oil is. And if you have to deal with, Australia's government and the risk there, or if you have to deal with Nigeria, they deal with countries that are much less safe and secure and have, strong property rights than Australia, and they do just fine in those countries as well. So I'm not necessarily persuaded by that argument. But I think the thing that is really the barrier is that it is enormously expensive to nationalize industries. So
it's
Alan Kohler did a piece this week.
Worth it?
Yeah, I'd argue maybe it is. If it's critical infrastructure like steelworks, like petrol refining, like Alan Kohler was on the ABC this week making the argument in favor of nationalising childcare, basically saying we've got a privatised, subsidised system, and it doesn't fucking work.
Yeah.
It's too expensive, and it doesn't give the quality to the people who need it.
Subsidies just encourage price inflation, basically.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, after a bit of a lag, a 6-month breather, then the prices go up. I don't think that the current Labor government has the appetite to do what would need to be done in terms of the balance sheet to onboard the risk of nationalising any of these industries. They are simply not a government that has the appetite for that level of risk. Alan Kohler was talking about you would need to raise, and he came up with the idea of like baby bonds and all this sort of stuff, a way of funding it and sort of
capital,
essentially purchasing these childcare centres back or a steelworks back or whatever at market price would cost, in the case of the childcare, $15 to $20 billion. The government does not have $20 billion lying behind the couch cushions anymore. Not since Scott Morrison now have there been tens of billions of dollars sitting behind the couch cushion, free to spend, because there's other priorities, right?
There's also not the political, you'd argue they've got the most political capital now they've had in years, but they're centre-left party. They're not going to do anything too crazy.
And Twin Rotors in the chat again has said, corporatise the profits and nationalise the risks. Unfortunately, that is the system that we've got. Socialism, what is it? capitalism on the way up, socialism on the way down. As soon as the national, they go, we're a critical industry. Hand out, give us money, please. Money. The same with the GFC. The Wall Street bankers go, you can't tell us what to do. Fucking, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue coming to tell us how to do our jobs. We're the Wall Street bankers. We're the smartest motherfuckers alive. Then they burn down the global economy and they're like, money, please. They're just Jenny Slate in Parks and Rec. Money, please. Money, please. And that's the system that we've built. And I would argue that creates its own kind of risk, its own kind of moral hazard.
Because there's no price of failure. It's like
exactly if you
we'll
are
get
in
bailed out.
an industry that is a critical supply chain industry. Well, now there's a moral hazard there because there's no fuck up that you can do that's too big that the government won't come and bail you out of it when you need it, right?
This is what's happened with Whyalla,
it creates more risk.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing is, like, a lot of these facilities were set up decades ago. They're aging. Whyalla needs a heap of upgrades. I'm sure, obviously we're now going to have to, spend a lot of money fixing up the refinery in Geelong. There's a lot of investment that's required, and I don't know if we've got the capital. But this is the kind of thing, like, if you were in a war, this is the kind of thing you would have to do. This is the kind of thing Ukraine has done, right? They've had to start, it's taken them 4 or 5 years, but, like, they've basically had to sort of go to a wartime economy.
Shift to a wartime economy, yeah.
And it doesn't work in the cold light of capitalism, but we're kind of in this sort of multipolar world now where it's not as clear cut, and we do have to fend for ourselves. So we need political will and capital to start to think about how we protect some of these key industries, and we don't have them bleeding money out the door, or if they are, then we can see it transparently and the government can step in prior to it being a problem.
Yeah, as Twin Rotors is writing in the chat, I'm loving the activity in the chat this week. Twin Rotors says maybe $16 billion each year we miss out on the free gas we give away. Maybe start there in terms of where we could raise the money. And look, and Punters Politics has been doing some great stuff on this recently about how little we are taxing the natural gas that flows out of our country. There is, but again,
this is because of the
billions and billions of dollars
that because of these contracts.
We export more gas than Norway, and yet the amount of money that we make off of it is a fraction of what Norway has. Norway has a sovereign wealth fund that they've built off the back of the gas wealth that they've accrued, out of the ground, right? They have managed to build a social safety net, which is second to none as a result. And here we get more out of the excise we get off beer than we do off natural gas, even though we're exporting tens of billions of dollars worth of it every year. It doesn't make any sense to me, but these are the long-term shitty, our master negotiators over in Canberra. These are the long-term, back to your point earlier, Adam, about long-term agreements.
Yeah.
This is the shitty long-term agreement that we signed. Yeah. And so we're stuck with it now.
It is interesting watching like Barnaby Joyce team up with Pocock, Wilkie, Pauline Hanson.
Nightmare Blunt rotation, if ever I heard
Pauline Hanson, and I think maybe the Greens as well.
Pocock would be a good hang. Pocock would be chill.
Oh, he'd be great. And the Greens, I think, there's like this weird coalition forming around this, actually. So, look, maybe there will be some political pressure here, but there need to be some leverage somewhere where they can. There has to be some sort of thing to push it across the board. But you would say,
how about the gas is in our fucking ground? And if you want to get it, then you do what we say. Like, I really don't, like, I'm going full Latin American 1960s on this shit. Like, I really would. Like, if I were king for a day, fucking watch out, BP. Watch out, nationalizing so many fucking industries with a stroke of my pen. You better believe it. And not that I think the government is necessarily inherently better at operating particular industries. I do think there are particular
inefficient.
Like, we've seen inefficiencies in government, right? I'm not saying, like, trying to get my MyGov to attach to my ATO, via an API, which should be a very, very simple fucking thing, was not simple for me. The government is not great at necessarily undertaking particular kinds of projects, but I would argue that the criticality of certain industries, like steel, like fuel production, like you could argue the argument was about car manufacturing back in the day when during the Gillard government as well, as to whether they were going to extend support to that industry as well. I think there are certain things that are worth protecting. And yeah, it might mean that you take on a bit of a hit on the balance sheet. But you know what? I'd rather have free childcare for everyone than maybe a submarine or two fucking 10 years from now. Like, we spend so much money on dumb shit as it is. It's like, well, why don't we just redirect some of that dumb shit money into cool stuff that helps people? And then maybe we don't have as many problems in our society, right?
The submarines are helping, George. They're helping.
Don't you fucking talk to
the
me. Shut your whore mouth about the
States.
submarines. We're not going to say, I will bet my fucking house.
Shut up.
I will bet my house we will never see a single goddamn submarine.
We've actually, just quiet, I want to go a little defense nerd here. On the submarines, we're actually building autonomous submarines locally, or at least, we're going to have autonomous submarines prior to the...
I'm sorry, we're building our own submarines now? What the
They're not really submarines. They're like underwater autonomous, like remote controlled vehicle things. When I say autonomous, I don't know if they're autonomous. I don't know much about them. It's called the Ghost Shark. Go look at it.
What the fuck are we buying?
Well, I don't know, man. But like the Collins class is going to have to go offline at some point. So maybe this will bridge it. I don't know. Anyway, the Pope. The Pope.
Seamless fucking segue.
The Pope doesn't like Donald Trump, and Donald Trump doesn't like the Pope is probably the thrust of this article. But for all the bad things we say about Catholicism, all the child rape and
yeah, that's a big
crusades and the witches, like all the bad things that have come out of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, the anti-Semitism and years of mindless pogroms. What was the when they went to war in the Middle East in the Middle Ages? The what were those called? The Crusades.
Yeah,
Spanish Inquisition.
All of these things.
Now
really
that we
bad.
think about it, it's a long list of crimes. The Catholic Church.
Despite all this, as a repressed Catholic, there is part of me that is just there for Pope Leo at the moment, man. Like, I like this guy. This guy might be the best thing to happen to religion in like hundreds of years.
Don't be fooled at him just because he's a guy from Chicago. Hey, cousin, I got another fucking order up. Just because he's a guy from Chicago doesn't mean he's not the Pope of the Catholic Church. Like, if there's anything, I imagine that meme where it's like the two hands shaking hands, and one of them's the Trump administration, and the other one's the Catholic Church, and the text underneath, the thing that they agree on is like molesting children. Like, it's really like the Catholic Church is absolutely not the bastion of fucking moral.
No. I know that's not
fortitude that we should be listening to now.
I'm just saying. I like what he's putting down.
Which Mark Ruffalo film shall we reference see how bad these guys are?
Sometimes it's nice. Sometimes it's nice to see religion doing something good for once, which is standing up to fucking tyranny and being like, maybe don't start like not even doing anything crazy, just saying,
just war is bad. Yeah,
war is bad.
Yeah.
That's all he's doing.
I at least appreciate that he stands up to say, like, hey, you Christian nationalists, like MAGA people, are not Christians. Like, based on just like not explicitly just being like, you're not Christians, but more like people who think this doesn't really compute with this. Like, those aren't Christian values, friends. So
to quote Pope Leo, and this is part of the growing rift that's been developing over some months between Trump and Pope Leo. He said, quote, "Brothers and sisters, this is our God, Jesus, King of Peace, who rejects war, whom no one can use to justify war." He said, "He does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war, but rejects them, saying, even though you make many prayers, I will not listen. Your hands are full of blood." Right? So, pretty standard anti-war message from the Pope. Again, hilarious from the institution who instituted not one, but several crusades against the Middle East. But yeah, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. History's long. As you say, like, the bar is so low in terms of what we expect out of world leaders. And just like, it really is refreshing to hear a thoughtful world leader who can string a full sentence together, say something to the effect of war is bad. That's good. I'm here for it. And of course, Trump, being Trump, didn't like that. He said,
war? That's what I'm doing.
Said that So Trump, after his comments that, a whole civilization will die if Iran didn't agree to a ceasefire deal, essentially threatening genocide by the form of a nuke or whatever the fuck he was threatening then in that
As one
particular,
does.
in that particular senescence mode, that sundowning moment that he was having on social media at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's
Sun upping.
there you go. So he was having that moment, and then Pope Leo made these comments about him, and obviously that's kicked off this latest round of enmity between the two leaders. Now, you'd think that having a pope from the United States would lend to some stronger ties. People were worried initially that it was going to reinforce the power of the United States in a way that was like potentially damaging to the world order, and like, no, we don't need to worry about that because they are not on the same page at all. And Trump said that it made me laugh so hard when I read this. Pope Leo was weak on crime and just lying, saying that like, well, I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, so I guess like Pope Leo does. Basically, just like I was just like, what? Insane. What fucking simulation are we living? Pope Leo's weak on crime? What is he, the comptroller for New York? What are you talking? Yeah, this is really going to hurt Pope Leo in the midterms. What are you talking about, Trump? I didn't realize that crime was one of his fucking remits as Pope. What are you talking about? We live in hell.
And it's been growing. This is the latest set of commentary. So he's obviously criticised the US over. Yeah, there was that initial comment around. I think what Tom was referring to was like those who are for abortion cannot be. I'm going to mess this quote.
No,
up.
it was other way around. It's like, saying I'm against abortion, but I'm in favor of the death penalty is not someone who is pro-life.
Yeah.
The other example was I'm against abortion, but I'm in agreement with the inhumane treatment of immigrants in the United States.
It was a shot at Trump, obviously.
Yeah, and it's a shot at the like Christian washing of it all, right? Like, I'm like, I believe in Jesus and God chose me. I'm God's president, but also I'm known for my whoring and like debauchery and
like Game of Thrones or some shit, right?
Yeah, right. So, and of course, the AI image.
The AI image
pulled up.
So this is Donald Trump, clearly as Jesus, healing a man who looks either like Jon Stewart or Jeffrey Epstein. I can't tell in this particular image.
To me, it looks like Jeffrey Epstein, but the mug shot that is always trotted out when he was a bit scruffy.
To which Trump said, I did post it. I wasn't Jesus. I was
a doctor.
I was a doctor.
I was healing someone.
I was healing, and something about the Red Cross because we're happy. We have a guy over there in the Red Cross. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. And the theory that someone had online, which I'm inclined to agree with, was that someone obviously told him, because Caroline Levitt posted something about the image being doctored.
And said it in like the White House press conferences and all that sort of stuff. Like the
image
party
is doctored.
line is clearly, this is doctored. This is like, it's the fake news argument all over again.
Trump just heard the word doctor and was like, I'm a doctor. I like helping people. I help. So it's the same thing as like when he said they're letting people out of asylums, and they're like, no, Donald. They're asylum seekers. They're not letting them out of asylums. And he's just like, I heard one word. It was asylum. And it's just his brain is fucking melting, dude. Someone, I think it was Harry Stinson, did a whole like timeline of the day where he posted this. Where it was like,
it's crazy.
9 o'clock, 10:30, 10:30, 11:30, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And it's like posting throughout the night because his brain is fucking melting. And so he's just tweeting the night away whilst the rest of the world watches on in horror.
To get to the point of what we're trying to get at here, though, is that so there is a growing Catholic movement within the MAGA base, right? It's trendy to be Catholic now. We've talked about it before on the show.
So trendy.
It is to be trad, you know.
JD Vance just released a book, apparently, about his conversion to Catholicism 7 years ago or something like that. So, he's the expert.
That features a Methodist church on the cover.
Yes, it does. Yeah,
It's very funny.
Sorry.
Just
That's
a nice
amazing.
little-
What?
A nice little detail.
yeah. They're like,
I mean,
the publisher was like, "Oh, it's because it's from his hometown." I was like, "You couldn't find
a Catholic church.
an in-domain picture of a Catholic church in Ohio? Are you fucking kidding me?"
Oh yeah, that was news to me. That's amazing.
It's just one of those details that doesn't matter, but it's just another one in the cavalcade of bullshit. That these people
obviously,
So
do.
it's
there
just
was
trendy to be-
massive reaction to this AI image, calling it blasphemous, which obviously it was, and it's pissed off. I think there's at last count something like 20 million Catholics across the United States, so Trump took it down. But like, obviously, this is not a smart thing to do, is to like divide your hyper-religious base with obviously blasphemous material for a laugh. Like, I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, the reason why this is why, I mean, Pope Leo is wading into politics here, and the popes always do sort of comment to asides about ongoing matters and conflicts and that kind of thing. But the reason why perhaps Pope Leo is being more direct is, one, that he's American, but secondly is that the MAGA movement are using religion as like a, what am I trying to say? It's like a like an affirming,
like a justification.
Justification,
Yeah.
for some of the things that they're doing, whether that be abortion, whether that be rounding up immigrants, whether that be
the war in Iran.
War in Iran. And we can talk to Pete Hegseth's insane.
I was going to go to
prayer
JD Vance
thing.
first.
Let's go to
Just
JD
while we're
Vance
on
first,
time.
and then we'll circle back to that. But JD Vance is,
I think, though, referee, before you play that, George, I think a point brought up in the comments by Recorder Residue. They're also in that cavalcade of craziness of Trump's tweeting. One of them was like a video of a woman being murdered with a hammer. As well, just
a snuff video from the president.
Things,
presidential snuff videos.
When was that?
I remember seeing something
I
about
didn't know that.
I didn't fully read into the context of it, because I was kind of like, I don't want to see that either. But the fact that just he's going, and here's the footage. I believe it was at a petrol station or something, like an attack. Just crazy that the president is just sharing.
When was
all
that?
this.
Is that a recent thing?
I think it was the same night as the
Oh,
AI
God.
image. Like this night of his crazy social media
That was
activity.
also the night that he talked about blockading the Strait of Hormuz. This was like in between, and then he's got like articles talking about him announcing it, and he's like retweeting, like, "Hey, look, they talked about it. Hey, Melania, look, they talked about it. I'm going to retweet it." No, who are we kidding? Melania's not sleeping next to him.
She's not near him. Yeah.
She's no idea. She's, "Get the fuck away from me, Donald. You're making me sick. I can't wait till you die."
Yeah.
So JD Vance waded into a response to some of the Pope's comments, and this is what he said.
And this is the Yale law level of logic that spewed forth from educated man JD Vance.
I'd almost rather have the conversation. So I kind of like, even when there's disagreement, I like it when the Pope comments on questions of immigration. I like it when the Pope talks about abortion. I like it when
I welcome the investigation. I love it so much.
the Pope talks about matters of war and peace, because I think that at the very least it invites a conversation. I certainly think the answer is yes, and I agree. Jesus Christ certainly does not support genocide. Whoever yelled that out from the dark, he certainly does not.
Which your boss threatened this week. Yep. Okay.
I think that's pretty easy. I think that's a pretty easy principle. When the Pope says that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword, there is more than a 1,000-year tradition of just war theory. Okay? Now, we can, of course, have disagreements about whether this or that conflict is just, but I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy. I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology.
Crazy.
The Pope should be careful about matters of theology.
Yeah.
So the theology that he is literally the head of /
he's kind of
the global religion,
the voice of God. Like he speaks for God.
Yeah,
like that. He's kind of you don't get more of defining the theology than that.
As a new Catholic, JD, you may not know this. For someone who's just like just arrived. But like, if you'd watched the film Dogma, you'd probably know this.
Yeah.
But like, as someone who's born into the Catholic tradition and is now, shall we say, no longer practicing, the position of the Pope is like such a rarefied one in the Catholic tradition. He is, as Tom said, quite literally God's mouthpiece. There is a phrase that's uttered in the Catholic Church. I don't know if it's in scripture, but it's something that's often cited: as above, so below, right? Basically, as so below, whatever it is. And the idea of this is saying that the rules that the Vatican creates, we will honor them in heaven. So like, the Pope is quite literally God's mouthpiece. When he speaks, it's not an opinion.
It is the
It
word.
is as though it is the voice of God speaking unto the people, right?
Yeah, it's like,
So,
I am saying this either because I spoke to God and he
I had a
told
chat
me this.
with God on the
or-
fucking God phone,
Yeah.
and God told me that this was up. What was up? That is how the Catholic religion conceives of the role of the Vatican. Is I had a quick chat with God, and he said, "Yo, this is what's up." right?
God's messenger is kind of the concept, right?
But it is beyond a mess. It is like I wouldn't say it's like a deified, but it is like
it's like
he is a figure that holds like particular power and reverence within the church as having presumably supernatural abilities, right? Like that is the inference for the Pope's role in the Catholic Church. So the idea that like JD Vance is like tries to, you should be careful when you're talking about theology. It's like when the Pope says it, it's not theology. It's a fucking edict from the Pope. Like it becomes religious law when the Pope says it.
Yeah, when the Pope does it, it's not illegal.
Yeah. It's
That's
what
also-
Richard Nixon always wanted to be, was the Pope.
Let's not forget as well that JD Vance has already not murdered. I can't say that, but he has already been around in the same area.
The previous Pope's death followed hard upon the visit of JD Vance.
Yes, correct. No, he didn't murder him. That we know of.
That we know of.
Good. So, yeah, kind of
the
wild.
audacity. You're like, I'm actually the Pope. I think you'll find. Shut the fuck up, recent convert JD Vance. Shut the fuck up. Pope Leo was preaching for longer than you've been alive. I reckon on Pope shit, he knows what the fuck he's talking about.
And
JD Vance.
Not to get too heavy into this because we do need to wrap this up soon, but what JD Vance is talking about when he's talking about like this 1,000-year like just war kind of thing, he's talking about the writings of St. Augustine and the concept of...
Who Pope Leo did a fucking doctorate on.
That's a good point.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Some of the musings of St. Augustine are used as sort of what underpins the foundations of armed conflict. This concept that, like, you can defend yourself. So, like, if you have expeded all diplomatic and you have been, efforts and you have been attacked and you've got no other option, then,
the war to displace Hitler was a just war because it was in aid of, protecting, the Jewish people that were, and other people that were being victimized, that were being genocided, right? Like,
and we're simplifying this, but this is what he's referencing, right? Is this sort of thing?
But the whole thing of just war theory is that there are some wars that are just wars and wars of aggression, which are not just wars. And the war in Iran.
A lot of bishops are coming out. So this is like where it's like, if you get the Catholic Church has got layers, right? It's not just one guy at the top.
It's like an onion.
Bishops coming out, like writing articles being like, the Iranian war is completely unjustified from a religious point of view.
Yeah. Well, better not tell that to
Pete Hegseth.
Religious holy war friend of the show, Pete Hegseth.
Jerusalem cross tattooed to his chest.
Mm-hmm. Infidel in Arabic, I believe, is also tattooed on his arm. I think that's his bicep tat or whatever.
That's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
So
it's cool and normal thing.
This week, during a Pentagon prayer meeting.
Don't like the sound of that.
JD Vance has been normalizing some of this stuff as part of his role.
There is
where they,
Okay, so this is from the Guardian article. It was perhaps inevitable that a braggadocious Christian nationalist defense secretary, elevated from his role as a weekend Fox News television host, would pluck a fake Bible verse from a violent Hollywood blockbuster and present it at a Pentagon prayer session to rally the troops for the, quote, holy war, unquote, in Iran. It was perhaps inevitable because it did in fact happen. So this is the quote that Hegseth rendered at that Pentagon prayer meeting, which is a collection of phrases that I hope never to utter in this lifetime. But the quote is, "The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men," he said. "Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of the darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children." And Donald Trump said, "Lost children?" Quote, "And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy One." Oh, he's so lame. "When I lay my vengeance upon thee." Now, if that quote strikes you as familiar, it's not because you're an ardent student of Ezekiel 25:17. It is, in fact, because it is almost line for line quoted in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, but it's Samuel L. Jackson's amazing, threatening monologue to the guys with the briefcase.
"And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers." Like, oh, fucking incredible scene.
It's
and
amazing.
He has
one for the history books.
Lifted it line for line from Pulp Fiction.
Now, that monologue is loosely based on the text from Ezekiel 25:17.
When we say loosely, very loosely.
Very loosely.
Right.
There's like a sentence that sort of is the same, and the rest of it's all sort of made up.
Yeah, I thought the execute great vengeance upon them or something is like a portion of the verse. But not the whole thing.
So yeah,
it's incredibly embarrassing for him.
The media or the press. What am I trying to say? The public relations office of the Pentagon's been trying to say, "Oh yeah, no, like it was definitely inspired by Ezekiel 25:17," and you're making this out to be bigger than it is. Like,
but it uses some of the same words as the Samuel L. Jackson one.
It's fake news, man. Don't worry about it.
So the quote is, "And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am the Lord when I shall lay my vengeance upon them." That's the original quote.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth's quote doesn't look anything like that. So,
nope.
One of these things is not like the other one.
If anything, he's incredibly lucky that if he's just going to be lifting entire chunks from Pulp Fiction to be saying in a Pentagon prayer breakfast that it had no N-words in it. Like, it's the script from Pulp Fiction.
Quentin Tarantino was so shocked he spit Uma Thurman's foot out.
Jesus Christ. But just...
There's like 3 references there that we need to... Anyway. Yeah, it is. And this is like not just the first... Like, Peter Hegseth is...
crazy?
Well, yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's a larger trend here where he's trying to bring back in religious aspects to the sort of top-down...
Explicitly a Christian nationalist based to the Pentagon,
So, and while, look, every military has quote-unquote chaplains, religion is... It's kind of funny. Religions, we kind of think that there should be a separation. Religion's kind of actually, like, intertwined with the military in all sort of Western countries to some extent. But what's different about this is that it's a Christian nationalist view that is being pushed down from the top of command through the command structure to the troops on the ground, to the point where we talked about it previously, troops were getting like briefings from people saying that it was like, we're bringing about the end of days and all this kind of shit, like crazy stuff.
Explicitly, religious apocalyptic end of times, holy war rhetoric was being advanced by commanders going into the Iran conflict sort of thing. Like,
crazy. Anyway, hour 32, last story. And it's a good one. It's a nice one.
I mean, it kind of is, and it also kind of isn't. So, you remember a couple of months ago we reported on the protest that occurred here in Sydney during the visit of Israeli President Herzog when he was on his tour of Australia a bit, that there were some protests out the front of Town Hall in Sydney City, which turned into the police beating the shit out of a bunch of protesters and people praying out the front and all that sort of stuff. Chaos and terrible. The reason one of the reasons that occurred and what was controversial leading into that event was that following the terrorist attack in Bondi back in December, that some legislation was very quickly passed just prior to Christmas that would allow New South Wales Police to declare areas as banning public gatherings for 2-week periods for up to 3 months in the event following a terrorism event. And they enacted this, so effectively banning protests that are pro-Palestine. And they sort of did that immediately in the aftermath because they were making this, there was such rhetoric around being, people who are pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel are responsible for what happened in Bondi and all this bullshit going on around there. And then also they kept renewing it in the lead up to the visit of the Israeli president because they wanted to chill speech, I believe is the expression. So surrounding all that, groups like the Palestine Action Group and others had challenged the law pretty quickly after it was passed. In January, they
some of their members were arrested as part of this. As part of this action, right?
Yeah, so they had challenged in the High Court this legislation, and they've just now come down with their ruling, and the ruling is that it was unconstitutional for them to pass this legislation to essentially impede upon people's right to express their opinions on actions of government. Was sort of the
you can't just suspend freedom of speech for a couple of months. That's not how fucking the Constitution works.
You just can't do that.
I was wrong. It was unconstitutional all along.
Well, and so, that's why that's the good news. And I think this law is now gonzo. So in the aftermath of the next terrorism event, they can't do this. But, obviously it takes months for this sort of thing to happen. And it kind of had the effect that they wanted it to earlier on. So good news in that's gone. But I feel the bad news of it is that after this, people went to Chris Minns to be like, do you still stand by your legislation after being told it was unconstitutional? It's yes, I do. I'm very glad that we did this. It was the right thing to do. It was absolutely right for me to squash the Constitution with the legislation that we propose.
I love it when I pass unconstitutional laws. It's so good. Shall I have another, sir?
It's insane that they're still doubling down on this.
Well, it's because he got the benefit out of it already.
Yeah.
As Twin Rotors is saying in the chat, I feel like Chris Minns is an astute politician. He may not have cared that it was on shaky constitutional grounds. He may have just wanted to see the benefit from being seen to act. I think that's absolutely right. He wanted to be seen to be doing something, so it looks good for the media. He doesn't care. Okay, he goes, great, it's knocked down, it's unconstitutional, great. I still got the fucking news cycles.
And it sort of did what they wanted it to, in that they kept Herzog safe and the protesters away from those areas that they wanted to tour the Israeli president through.
But they weren't even near where Herzog was when that protest was happening. Herzog was in fucking Darling Harbour at the TikTok Entertainment Centre.
As far as I could tell, Chris Minns wanted the images that we saw on the news media of Muslims praying, being dragged away. He wanted, I don't think he maybe wanted it to go to the extent that it did.
Maybe not Muslims praying, but probably protesters, people wearing
He wanted to look
what are they called?
In the wake of the Bondi attack to say, we're doing something. The New South Wales Police is doing something. The Minns government is doing something. We're tough on anti-Semitism. And this is what that looks like. So he's got all the news side. It doesn't matter that it's been knocked down. It doesn't matter that there's a number of criminal trials still pending as a result of this action, which still haven't been dismissed as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, which is crazy. If you've been charged with breaching an unconstitutional law.
Shouldn't you be able to sue the government for that? It's got to
Well,
be.
I guess, I don't know if maybe then what they'll do is try to like change the charge to be just something more like resisting arrest or whatever. Because I don't know, can you still be charged for resisting arrest if you were resisting being arrested for an now unconstitutional law? But as far as you were aware, it wasn't unconstitutional at the time. I don't know. I don't know.
It's an interesting legal one. I haven't. Yeah, I don't know how that
Yeah.
works.
Well, it's the whole thing of like people are still in prison for dealing
Yeah.
weed in America, even though in states where it's now legal to sell weed. So
I fully expect that each one of these defendants, if it does come to going to court, will absolutely cite this in their defense, saying that this is why the charges should be dropped. I would be astounded if the New South Wales, police force still pressed ahead with these charges, given that the law has been deemed unconstitutional, and the violent and aggressive way in which protesters. I told you guys about that woman who had her door broken down at 5 a.m. and like a TAC team fucking came in and arrested her because she threw a water bottle at a cop as part of this. The absolutely
Surely there'd be
ridiculous,
like
over the top use of force.
There must be some sort of restitutional method you can sue the government through the courts.
If I was the lawyer, I'd be all right. Let's go, guys. Class action. Let's fucking go.
What's the Slater and Gordon or lighting up?
Yeah, Slater and Gordon's on the bell. No win, no fee, mate. Let's fucking go.
yeah, I don't know. I just hope people don't forget that Chris Mittens did this.
No,
they will.
Yeah, they will though. You're right.
Yeah, I know a lot of people probably will, but yeah, it's like this should do him in. Like politically,
he's a really popular premier.
It won't.
They love him.
Listener Recorder Residue says, if it was smart politically, does that mean most of the public conflate the Bondi terror attack with the pro-Palestinian movement? I don't know if I'd say most of the public. I'd say most of the news media certainly has that perspective where they make the conflation frequently and often that protests were
inciting violence.
Somehow, in a way, inciting violence that led to the Bondi attack. I think that's a pretty...
Or inciting anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism. It's not a position I agree with, but I would argue that that's probably the normie position in the media at the moment, is that, I think it's bullshit. But yes, I think that is the normie position.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, New South Wales is the same state that had lockout laws and stuff. They've got a weird... I don't know, Tom, that state you're in, they legislate things weird. I don't know how else to describe it.
But we have nice beaches.
You got nice beaches, but you put
much
some
nicer
weird
than it is in
legislation
Melbourne.
through.
It's hot and sticky though. Still,
I'll take hot and sticky. It was 5 degrees overnight, Tom. Shut the fuck up. Oh, it was too hot and sticky. Fuck you.
I love some 5 degrees overnight right now.
On that note, we have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com, and make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that are ruining the world that have, do, or ever will exist at our handle, at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and motherflippin' TikTok, where I am personally getting roasted mercilessly in the comments. Make sure you follow me on TikTok and Instagram at George Tsipos.
You can follow me on Threads at tom.heath.
And don't follow me anywhere.
Thanks for listening, guys. We're on our way to the woods. Love your faces. We'll see you next week.
See, if they'd had the protests not at Town Hall, but instead in Silverwater in Western Sydney.
Okay, all right.
They would have been allowed to do
fine.
it.
Would have been
All
fine.
wouldn't
Completely
have
fine.
All right. I'm cutting this out, by the way.
No, you're not.
Oh, they should have had it in Silverwater, Brisbane.